people. So, first thing is, I'm not doing very well. I'm feeling kind of sick, but so I'm gonna not be doing a whole lot in this video. Um, you got a message that I found interesting, and you wanted to talk about it. So,
Yeah.
go ahead.
You okay?
Yeah.
All right, thanks. I thought this was an important conversation to have on your channel, just so more people would have access to it. Um, I have 100 subscribers now on my channel. Thank you to people who subscribed. I've been super busy and we haven't really recorded any videos. Um, and your phone is dying.
Yeah, that's why I'm gonna grab this
So,
cord and plug
yeah,
it in,
this is live.
and it's gonna go beep.
Wait for it. Oh, no
No.
beep.
All
All right, so I got a email today on FetLife, and I'm not going to name the person, but I asked them if they would like me to make a video on this because I didn't feel like I had the time. Hi there, hi Amy. The time to type out a response. I woke up at 5:30 this morning for some context, so very tired, but we'll try to say the things I need to say. Yay! I'm so glad you're here. So we haven't live streamed in a really long time. Uh, Basically, what the message said was, I'm an individual starting a new MS relationship with a master type that is new to the community, and there was some, um, basically that master type had stated, this is my understanding of what the person had written, had stated that this person was not supposed to be friends with any guys.
Yeah, that immediately brought up a red flag, especially.
And I may be misunderstanding what the message said. There was something mentioned about sex, so I'm not sure if the male friends were asking for sex or were previously partners with the person. I don't know the context of that, but the person was basically asking me if my master would do that, would put that limit on me, and if that's acceptable, and that this person was saying, well, when you're with me, you can't have male friends, or you should just talk to other submissives. So I have a lot of feelings about this. Not so surprising.
Yeah. Let me just kind of get some where my thought is on this before you.
Gonna
really...
pull up what I originally said.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Um, I think this person, this master type, is because they are new, they don't understand the simple idea of trust. I trust her, and I know that she's not going to go out and break any of the rules that we have established. She knows the things she can do, she knows the things she can't do. I have rules for myself of the things that I can do, things I can't do. Um, and the thing is that as long as those rules are met, she could be friends with anything, anybody she, wants to be friends with. It doesn't matter the gender of the person, it matters the conduct of the person. And I think that's the key thing here that this person doesn't understand. So, do you find what you said?
Yeah. So I won't say the whole thing of what they wrote, but one of the things was I had at least I have a new master to the lifestyle, and I would like your advice. I had at least 4 male friends, just friends, and we talk on the phone as well. He said, I am not going to let you talk or see these men while I don't have sex, and I don't see them a lot. He says I can no longer see them. So they are friends, it sounds like.
Yeah, see, here's, before you continue, um, here's one of the things that I always see as a red flag. Anytime, I don't care, master, mistress, whatever label you want to put to it,
Let's
dom,
say
whatever.
even vanilla partner.
Yeah, vanilla partner, whatever. The thing is, the second that your partner says you cannot be friends with, pick a gender, or I want you to stop talking to everybody.
Yeah, or your best friend of whatever gender that you have no sexual, especially.
Right.
Red ass flag.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that, the second that you start putting limits on who they can talk to, that, it's like, I get the whole, I don't want you to talk to other masters for now. I get that one. Okay. Even though that might, I'm not exactly, I'm like, The thing is that if you're doing something as a master and you bring it to another master and that master says it's wrong, then you should take that as a learning experience, not as a threat to who you are. And that, I feel, is the key here, is that people who um, say you cannot have friends, you can't have, I don't want you to talk to these people or that people or this people or that people. What it is that the person who is making those statements is not secure in their being.
That's what I was gonna say. Which
And
is fine that they're insecure.
right, but the thing is that, but it's like
transparency with where you're at.
right. It's like the that to me shows a level of insecurity that is going to be threatening to the relationship going forward.
And safety in making decisions.
Yeah.
That's the hard thing. So, I'm sorry, Master, can I continue? So, as a slave, can your master tell you to not see male friends anymore?
The answer to that is honestly, yeah, he can, if that's what you've agreed to. If that's the agreement that you have made with them.
That's why my answer pretty much was. Sorry, can I read my answer?
Please.
Also, don't want you to overexert yourself. Good morning. MS doesn't mean you don't negotiate or have any limits. Especially when you're just building something, it is very important to go slow. I'd call it a red flag if any partner is trying to end any healthy friendships you have. If there are destructive, etc., then depending on your agreement, that could be acceptable. As far as sex goes, or that's needed, needs need to be negotiated at the start of the dynamic and throughout.
Right, and that's the key. The key here is that you have to be able to have those very long conversations, those very long, detailed conversations about what what are the limits of your dynamic. I think that, like I said, even though I'm not a big fan of them, that one video I did about the slave contracts, the one I actually liked, that's a good tool, and it's all it is. It's a tool, and that's where you have to keep in mind. You have to be able to understand what your dynamic is from day one. You have to be able to say, here's the baseline structure, and as you move forward, make modifications and changes to it to be able to fit what is happening. We've already, within the time that we've been together, have had to make modifications to our dynamic to be able to make it work better for us. Some things I've liked, some things I've not liked. But the thing is that even as being the master, there's times where I'm gonna not get everything I want. So.
Yeah, sorry, you just pretty much said everything. But basically, what I was gonna say was, like, it's very, anytime that people are trying to take you away from your support system, red flag. Especially if you're long distance or just getting to know somebody. Again, we were talking about in the car, like, if you had history with someone and were previously partnered with them and now you're monogamous and committed to monogamy with someone, or they have very clear boundaries that they don't want you to be seeing anyone, you guys have agreed on that from the beginning. Like, we have an agreement about not adding people. We had an agreement about that, and now we're kind of more flexible on that.
But it even within our flexibility, there's still rules about, like what, the kind of people that we can bring in. It's like, I'm not going to bring another slave into our situation right now. That's just not, it's just not functional within the confines of our relationship. There's certain aspects of people that she knows she can bring in, that she can go out and be with and play with and things like that. And what we've established what these rules and guidelines are from very long, sometimes heated. And like I said, that's one thing.
We're still humans.
Yeah,
you're human.
Yeah, you're going to put yourself into a position where you're going to have to renegotiate on certain levels, and that's perfectly fine. And still being able to keep the MS dynamic. This is why I've always been a fan of the table concept. That it's a way that you can go and talk as two human beings and not stuck as I'm the master, this is the way it is. You can actually have that human conversation. Then, when the table is over, then go, okay, this is how it is going forward. And as long as that is established, then you're fine.
I feel like we have a lot of conversations that are not the table, but are a mix of like the table, but they're not the table. They're
Yeah,
almost the table, but they're not. But they're like a human. There is also human, like you said, human day to day.
right, but that's another that's the thing about when you're dealing with this kind of dynamic, you are never going to be able to just sit here and go that it's 100% this way, and this will be the way it is from now to the end of time, because that's not how humans work. Humans change and grow, and you know, and that's where I think um, this person that we're talking about, they're at the beginning of this journey where they haven't had these experiences and haven't been able to figure out what it is that they really need, truly need or want. They will over time.
And being a master is a lot of work, just like being a slave. It's not all fantasy, and being able to check your own emotions on both sides and be honest about where you are is a huge component of this. So at least this person that messaged me is concerned about this and questioning this and knows what's right for them. And if they want a relationship where somebody manages their sexual relationships and where they don't want to have male friends, but if they have male friends that are their support system and they feel like, that could definitely be, maybe it's hot for someone.
Yeah,
for me, I don't think it's, unless
no,
it was
no,
negotiated.
and that's the thing. It's like another thing we talked about is when would I say you can't have that person as a friend? And um,
It could happen.
and it could happen. I'm not saying it couldn't happen. What I'm saying is there are times where it is appropriate for me to take that step with her, being her master and her being my slave. But there are times where it's not there yet. There's no there. And there's definitely people that are being that are in and around her life that I sit there and I go, I am not necessarily like 100% okay with, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, no, you can't see them and you can't talk to them, because it's just that I know how that would affect things, and that's just when you're being a master, you have to look at the long-term aspects of the relationship. It's not just the immediate, this is what I need, this is how I feel. That's more DS. And it's a lot more complicated than what people think. And I think that as time goes forward, this person will figure that out. They'll figure out that, yeah, maybe I need to be a little more lax on some of these things, calm down
For
on
the
some of these
beginning, too.
things. Right. And as time goes forward, then establish more rules and guidelines
I
and stuff.
think it's the fantasy, too. Because I feel like even for myself in my first MS, I'm like, where's the fantasy part? It doesn't.
But that's it.
Doesn't feel like it's there.
But that's the thing is that I think that's the thing is that with DS you're allowed to do that more because for me DS is not a day-to-day lifestyle thing. There are people who do that, and I honestly I respect them and stuff. But master slave, if you're really doing it full out, it is a from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, all of that time you are a master. All of that time you are a mistress. And
A slave too, and
right.
even 2 in the morning. Like it's all and a human again. And one of the things, sorry, Miss, that I wanted to talk about, which I labeled on the video, is that I think a portion of this too is insecurity and jealousy, which is totally human.
Right.
It's how you process it, function with it, and communicate to your partner. So can I speak a little, not too much about our stuff, but a little bit? So we're in not an open relationship, but we're non-monogamous. And when I got into the relationship with him, I very much stated that I had people in my life that I cared about and wanted to stay in connection with, and that I didn't want to have a monogamous life. But I wanted, a primary relationship with an M-type, and that was, or, M-type mistress or master. And that was what I was looking for. So I was very transparent about where I was at. And if that wasn't what he wanted, it may not have worked out. It may have come to some different compromise. We have compromised and negotiated a lot of things. I still do have other partners in my life that are dominant. They're not my master. There's certain words I can't use with them. All those things. It's a different relationship.
There's like I said, there's guidelines and rules. I don't have any jealousy over 99% of everything that goes on in when she is out with these other individuals. There has been times where I've not been exactly happy, but I also understand that's the dynamic they have. And so I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, you can't see them because I have this tinge of uncomfortability or whatever.
And with us, those relationships pre-existed, so that's kind of why I think he's been more okay. And not to say that anybody should be you're not so uncomfortable that you feel insecure in the relationship, just to clarify.
Right.
Or felt like you're not doing, it's not like that. So, but in general, like, I think it can be really difficult with a power exchange and poly and playing with other people and things like that. There can be the jealousy that comes up. Sometimes I feel jealous of his work hours. I want to have those hours with him.
Yeah, but yeah, we're not even gonna get into that.
But sorry, right. But it's like I feel jealous of his computer. I spend so much time with him that I don't get in his face. But like there's I'm being a little silly here, but you know what I'm saying, guys. It's all people, folks. I always say guys, but I don't mean girls. But
that's why I use people.
Yeah. So.
But I mean, the long and the short of it here is that if you're new to this, understand what you've been told before.
I find open communication is the best way to deal with those types of things.
That's true. Yeah. That is absolutely 100% true. But the thing about it is that when you're especially new to the community, you don't have that skill set yet.
Well, maybe you do, but maybe it's a little different.
No, because coming from the vanilla world, way that people communicate in the vanilla world, and the way you have to communicate in this world is a completely different set of skills. The thing about it is that that every book you read about, relationships and communication and stuff, it's like I'm sitting there going, yeah, we do all that.
Can I raise my hand?
Yeah.
I would say though that in like the Tantra community, body positivity, swinger community, it's a little bit like that. It's not completely on its own as far as that language. Kink is different, but like in my experiences in some of the Tantra world and in some of these things, they use very similar language.
Right.
Maybe more connected into the different parts.
Well, but I think the part of the reason is anytime you're outside of vanilla context, to be able to get across what our true feelings and emotions are, you have to have that skill set to be able to have that type of open communication that doesn't exist in the vanilla world that people have been screaming. This is the kind of way you need to be doing it.
Well, it exists, but I don't want to hate on anybody for not being kinky, but like...
No, I'm not saying that, kink is the end-all be-all. It is not. There are a lot of people who are in the community that shouldn't be in the community.
That's what made BDSM and poly community so appealing. I hated the guesswork of vanilla relationships. Yeah. And that's the thing, too, is like... I really hope this person that sent this message can talk to this person, like, hey, I'm really into you, or whatever, or this concerns me. Can we talk about where this is coming from? Because I feel like, they're like, oh, well, if you're with me, you have to blah, blah, blah. And it's like, all right, well, how much have they negotiated? If they have negotiated that, she's like, this is really new and whatever. Can we go to the table and talk about this? I need just to check in with you. I'm having feelings. Like, that's totally acceptable. Like, let's say they did negotiate it, that she's not supposed to have any male friends.
If she negotiated it and agreed to the idea of she's not supposed to have any male friends, there's no issue with that.
Right, but she could still have feelings about it and change her mind.
She could have feelings and maybe down the road change her mind on it. But at that moment that they said, yes, I am fine with that, then, for at least a while... You've got to live with it to see how it feels.
Right, but what I'm saying is when you're in that and you're trying something, like we've tried things, and then you're like, oh my God, I'm really uncomfortable with this. And then you try it for a while, and then you're like, oh, no, this is not working for me. But then you still have to be able to say, like...
Right, but then there's the flip side of that, where in the beginning it may not feel comfortable. But then as you go forward, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I'm...
Right, but...
I mean, and again...
This is a bad example for this one, but...
But
because
but
like in general, like I feel like it's kind of shady that somebody would not want someone to have
right,
friends,
but again,
whatever gender they are.
right, but again, like I said, there's a difference between you are being told this with absolutely no ability to negotiate it, and somebody who did go into negotiation and agree to it. If
Or agree, let's say, sorry, can I say something
Yeah.
else? Or let's say that, again, where there's layers that we don't know about, maybe these specific men are ex-partners or lovers or buddies or whatever, or, maybe there was something about sex in the message, so I'm not sure if these people were saying to this individual that mentioning sex. I'm not, and that could make sense why this master type would be very upset by that. I could see that person being reactive and not wanting that person to be friends with this person. But if you're trying, it seems like it's trying to be one of those sexy control things, but it verges on the route of like red flag.
and that's where I think that's the thing that we don't have the complete knowledge to understand what's going on with the situation. But from what I'm understanding from it, it just seems like this is a master who is new to the community, who doesn't necessarily understand that all of the fantasy aspects of what a master is.
So can I finish this?
No, let me finish what I'm saying.
Okay.
But the fantasy aspects of what the internet and books and stuff say that a master is don't work in real life.
We've had snafus with that before.
Yeah, and
they
that
were very triggering.
Yeah, it just me.
Not to share what it was.
I'm gonna be very blunt. We were in bed, we were playing. I said something that, was meant to be kinky and sexy, and it turned out to be a huge trigger point, and it destroyed the fun that we had, and turned into a small argument. And it was completely unintentional on my end, but because I didn't realize that by making the statements that I made that it was going to trigger her, it turned into a learning point where we learned, okay, there's the line. Here's the line. And it's like, okay, don't bring up certain things about body autonomy during sex. It's just like, nope. That's just like, nope. Don't, that's a discussion to be had for another day.
There's so many discussions.
While, while clothes are on. So.
Yeah. So what this also says is that this individual had said, that the master type had said, as long as you're with me, I make the rules. Does MasterHook, if you had previous male friends, no sex, got upset and said you had to leave them all? No. What would you? I'm like, that would be really like I wouldn't have gotten in a relationship.
Well, first of all, that'd be completely out of character for me because that's not the way I act. The thing about it is that I understand people have friends before they come into a relationship with me. Some of those friends might be male, some might be female, some might be non-binary, some might be trans. The thing is that to me, none of that matters. What matters is how is what they are doing in their friendship with her affecting my relationship with her.
It'd be in general.
Right.
Affecting me affects your relationship with me.
That's if this person is doing things that are affecting our relationship, then there's a question to be answered. If this person is doing something that's constantly upsetting her, then there's a question to be answered. But until those questions need to be answered, it's not an issue. And it's just like the thing is, and that's another thing. She has many friends in this community who she can go to and talk about our relationship.
Which is healthy.
Which is what I want her to do. I want her to be able to go and discuss what we are doing to see if it is, within the community to be, somewhat okay, whether I'm crossing a line or where I'm not doing enough or, where are we at? And then she can come back to me and say, hey, I had a discussion with X, Y, and Z and brought up X, Y, and Z. And this is what they think. Where do you think? And it gives us an opportunity to talk about the situation in a way that doesn't, it is not going to become upsetting to me, because I have no problem putting out what I'm doing with her to people. If people don't like what I'm doing, don't think what I'm doing is right, I want to know, because then I can then make choices to change how I'm doing things to better our relationship. So,
Sleepy.
yep. And I need to send this one to bed. So I'm going to wrap this up. I think we've been talking for 26 minutes now.
Hey, it's been a
25.
while.